Mary Holloway thought heartbreak had a sound, the mechanical click of fertility injections, the silence after failed pregnancy tests, the sterile hum of IVF clinics. But the real sound came on a rainy Seoul night when her billionaire husband coldly said, "I want an open marriage. If you can't give me an heir, someone else will." The next day he moved his mistress into their penthouse. Mary fled into the city's neon-soaked streets, shattered and humiliated. That's where she met Lucien Kang, tech mogul by day, feared underworld king by night, and her husband's most dangerous rival. When Lucien offered to destroy the man who broke her, Mary made a choice that would pull her into a world of power, violence, and a love more dangerous than revenge itself. If you want to see how far this story can go, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see where you're watching from. Now let's begin. The rain came down hard the night Mary Holloway's marriage officially died. She sat alone in the back corner of a hotel bar in Gangnam, mascara streaking her cheeks, staring at the bottom of her third glass of wine like it held answers. It didn't. Nothing did anymore. The luxury penthouse she'd called home for 3 years suddenly felt like a gilded cage. She'd been too stupid to recognize until the door slammed shut behind her. Her hands trembled as she poured another glass. Across the polished marble floor, Seoul's elite drifted through the lobby in tailored suits and designer gowns, their laughter sharp and careless. Mary used to be one of them, used to smile at the right moments, bow at the perfect angle, speak only when spoken to. She'd twisted herself into 100 different shapes trying to fit into Jae-min Kwan's world, and he'd still thrown her away. The bartender approached cautiously. "Ma'am, can I get you anything else?" Mary didn't look up. "Another bottle. Maybe some water first?" I said another bottle. The man nodded and retreated. Smart. Mary wasn't in the mood for concern. Not tonight, not after what Jae-min had done. The memory hit her again like a fist to the chest. "I want an open marriage." He'd said it so calmly, like he was discussing quarterly earnings or stock portfolios. They'd been sitting in their dining room overlooking the Han River, rain streaking the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights blurred and distant. Mary had been picking at her dinner, exhausted from another failed fertility treatment, when Jae-min set down his fork and shattered her world with 6 words. She'd laughed at first, thought it was a joke, but Jae-min's expression never changed. "I need an heir," he'd continued, his voice flat. "The board expects it. My mother expects it. And if you can't give me one, Mary, then someone else will." The cruelty in his tone had knocked the air from her lungs. "I'm trying," she'd whispered. "The doctors said—" "I don't care what the doctors said. I care about results." That was when she'd seen it. The disgust. The contempt. He didn't look at her like a wife anymore. He looked at her like a failed investment. Something broken. Something disposable. Mary had run to the bathroom and vomited. When she came back, Jae-min was already gone. And the next morning, he moved his mistress into their home. Mary drained her wine glass and reached for the bottle again, but her hand froze halfway. Someone was watching her. She felt it before she saw him. A presence that cut through the ambient noise of the bar like a blade through silk. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. A man stood near the entrance. Tall, sharp-featured. Expensive suit that fit like it had been tailored on his body. Dark hair swept back, revealing a face carved from stone and shadows. But it was his eyes that stopped her cold. Black as obsidian, calculating, dangerous. He didn't look away when she caught him staring. Instead, he walked directly toward her. Mary's pulse kicked up. She should leave, should gather her things and disappear before this stranger reached her table. But exhaustion and wine had burned through her survival instincts, and honestly, she didn't care anymore. The man stopped in front of her booth. "You're crying in public," he said. His voice was low, smooth, edged with something dark. "That's either very brave or very stupid." Mary let out a bitter laugh. "Definitely stupid. Mind if I sit?" She gestured to the empty space across from her. "Free country." He slid into the booth with the kind of controlled grace that came from years of commanding rooms. Up close, he was even more striking, all sharp angles and restrained power. The kind of man who didn't ask for attention because he didn't need to. People gave it freely or got out of his way. "Lucien Kang," he said, extending a hand. Mary stared at it for a moment before shaking. His grip was firm, warm. Mary Holloway. American. Observant. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. What brings you to Seoul, Mary Holloway? Bad decisions. Those are my specialty. Mary studied him. There was something familiar about his name, but her wine-soaked brain couldn't place it. You always sit down with crying strangers in hotel bars? Only the interesting ones. I'm not interesting. I'm a mess. Sometimes those are the same thing. Mary laughed again, but this time it came out raw, broken. She didn't know why she was still talking to this man, but the alternative was going back to that empty hotel room and staring at the ceiling until dawn, replaying every humiliating moment of the past 24 hours. This felt better. Lucien signaled the bartender and ordered 2 glasses of whiskey. When they arrived, he pushed one toward Mary. Tell me what happened. You don't want to hear it. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't. Mary picked up the glass. The amber liquid caught the low light, glowing like fire. My husband wants an open marriage because I can't give him a baby. Yesterday, he moved his mistress into our penthouse. Today, I left. She expected pity, maybe judgment. Instead, Lucien's expression hardened. Jaemin Kwan. Mary's head snapped up. You know him? Everyone in Seoul knows Jaemin Kwan. Lucien took a slow sip of whiskey. Tech billionaire, rising star in the business elite, arrogant bastard with a god complex. That's him? And you married him. I loved him, Mary's voice cracked. Or I thought I did. 3 years ago he was different, charming, protective. He made me feel like I mattered. And now? Now I'm just the defective wife who couldn't produce an heir. Lucien's jaw tightened. He's an idiot. Mary blinked. What? Any man who throws away his wife because she can't have children is an idiot and weak. The words hit her harder than they should have. Mary felt tears burning behind her eyes again, but she forced them back. She'd cried enough for one lifetime. Why do you care? She asked quietly. Lucien leaned forward, his gaze locking onto hers. Because I know what it's like to be underestimated, dismissed, treated like you're only valuable if you serve someone else's purpose. There was something raw in his voice, something personal. Mary took another drink. You don't seem like someone who gets underestimated often. Not anymore. What changed? I stopped waiting for permission to take what I wanted. The air between them shifted, charged. Mary should leave, should thank him for the drink and walk away before this conversation went somewhere dangerous. But she didn't move. Couldn't move. Lucien's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening, then silenced it. I have to go. Disappointment flooded through her. Of course. He stood, buttoning his jacket, but hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you want to hurt him? Mary froze. What? Jaemin, do you want to make him feel what you're feeling right now? Her heart pounded. Don't answer yet. Lucien pulled a business card from his pocket and placed it on the table. Think about it. If you decide the answer is yes, call me. He turned to leave. Wait, Mary blurted. Why would you help me? Lucien looked back, and for the first time she saw something dangerous flicker across his face, something almost predatory. Because Jaemin Kwan and I have unfinished business, and you might be exactly what I need to settle it. Then he was gone. Mary sat alone in his booth, staring at the business card. Lucien Kang, CEO, Kang Industries. Her blood turned cold. She knew that name. Jaemin had mentioned him before, always with contempt, always with barely concealed fear. Lucien Kang wasn't just a CEO. He was a rival, a threat. The one man in Seoul Jaemin couldn't control. And he'd just offered to help her. Mary picked up the card with shaking hands. This was insane. She should throw it away. Should book a flight back to the States and forget any of this ever happened. Starting a war with her husband using his most dangerous enemy was reckless, destructive, and completely unhinged. But as she sat there in the dim light of the hotel bar, alone and humiliated and hollow, Mary realized something. She didn't care anymore. Jaemin had burned her life to the ground. Maybe it was time to burn his. Mary didn't sleep that night. She lay in her hotel room staring at Lucien's business card until the city lights outside her window faded into dawn. By the time the sun rose over Seoul's skyline, she'd made her decision. She called the number. Lucien answered on the second ring. "I was hoping you'd call." "I'm in." "Good. I'll send a car." "When?" "Now." The line went dead. 20 minutes later, a black Mercedes pulled up outside the hotel. The driver, a stone-faced man in a dark suit, opened the door without a word. Mary climbed in, her stomach twisting with nerves and adrenaline. They drove through Seoul's morning traffic in silence. Mary watched the city blur past. Towering skyscrapers, neon signs, crowded streets. She'd lived here for 3 years, but it had never felt like home. It had always been Jae-min's world, his rules, his control. Not anymore. The car pulled up to a sleek high-rise in Hanam-dong, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the city. Mary followed the driver through a private entrance and into an elevator that required a fingerprint scan to operate. They ascended. When the doors opened, Mary stepped into a penthouse that made Jae-min's place look like a studio apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River, minimalist furniture, art that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. And standing in the center of it all was Lucien. He'd changed into a black shirt and slacks, sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle. He looked less like a CEO and more like something far more dangerous. "Welcome," he said. Mary crossed her arms. "What is this?" "Your new home. If you want it." "I can't afford—" "I'm not asking you to pay. Consider it part of the arrangement." "What arrangement?" Lucien gestured to the sitting area. "Sit. We need to talk." Mary hesitated, then sat on the edge of a leather couch. Lucien poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal decanter and handed her one before taking the chair across from her. "Here's the situation," he began. "Jae-min Kwon has been a thorn in my side for years. He's ambitious, ruthless, and desperate to climb Seoul's power ladder by any means necessary. Recently, he's been trying to edge into markets I control, tech development, real estate, shipping. So this is about business." "Partially." Lucien leaned forward. "But it's also personal. Jae-min thinks he's untouchable because of his family name. He thinks he can take whatever he wants without consequences. And you want to prove him wrong?" "Exactly." Mary took a sip of water. "Where do I fit in?" "You're going to be my weapon." The words sent a chill down her spine. "Explain." Lucien's eyes never left hers. "Seoul's elite operate on image, reputation, status. Jae-min built his empire on the illusion of control, perfect marriage, perfect family, perfect future. You leaving him already cracked that image. But if you show up on my arm, at galas, business summits, private events," Mary's breath caught. "He'll lose his mind. He'll lose more than that. Investors will question his judgment. His mother will blame him for the scandal. The press will destroy him. So you want me to pretend to be your lover?" "I want you to be seen with me. That's all." Mary laughed bitterly. "That's all? Do you have any idea what Jae-min will do when he finds out?" "That's the point. He'll come after me. Let him try." There was something cold in Lucien's voice, something absolute. Mary realized with sudden clarity that this man wasn't offering protection out of kindness. He was offering it because he wanted Jae-min to attack, wanted to give himself a reason to retaliate. She was bait. "What do I get out of this?" Mary asked. "Revenge, power, a front row seat to watching the man who humiliated you lose everything. And when it's over, you walk away, clean slate, new life, no strings." Mary set down her glass. "You're using me." "Yes." At least he was honest. She studied him, tried to read past the sharp features and controlled expression. But Lucien Kang was a locked vault. Whatever he felt, whatever he wanted beyond revenge, stayed buried deep. "I need time to think," Mary said. "You have until tomorrow. There's a charity gala tomorrow night. If you're serious about this, that's where we start." Mary stood. "And if I say no?" Lucien rose as well, closing the distance between them. He was taller than she'd realized, broader, the kind of presence that demanded attention without effort. "Then you go back to your hotel room," he said quietly. "You book a flight home. And you spend the rest of your life wondering what could have happened if you'd been brave enough to fight back. His words hit like a punch, because he was right. Mary had spent 3 years shrinking herself, bending, breaking, trying to be enough for a man who would never value her. And where had it gotten her? Discarded, replaced, humiliated. Maybe it was time to stop being the victim. "I'll do it," she said. Lucien smiled. It was a dangerous expression. "Good. I'll have someone bring your things from the hotel. Make yourself at home." He turned to leave, but Mary grabbed his wrist. "One condition." He looked down at her hand, then back at her face. "What?" "If we're doing this, I want the truth. No games, no lies. If you're using me, I deserve to know why." Lucien's expression softened, just slightly. "Fair enough. So tell me, why do you really hate Jaemin?" For a moment, Mary thought he wouldn't answer. Then Lucien pulled his wrist free and walked to the window, staring out at the city below. 5 years ago, Jaemin tried to destroy my company. He spread rumors, sabotaged contracts, bribed officials to investigate me for fraud. Lucien's voice was cold, controlled. I lost millions. Nearly lost everything I'd built. What did you do? I survived, and I waited. For what? Lucien turned back to her. For the right moment to return the favor. Mary's pulse quickened. And I'm that moment. You're more than that. You're the knife I'm going to twist. The honesty should have scared her, should have sent her running. But instead, Mary felt something dark and electric coil in her chest. Anticipation. When do we start? She asked. Lucien's smile widened. Tonight. I'm taking you shopping. The boutique was located in Cheongdam-dong, where Seoul's wealthiest came to spend obscene amounts of money on clothes they'd wear once. Mary had been here before with Jaemin, always feeling like an imposter among the perfectly styled women who glided through the racks with effortless confidence. But walking in beside Lucien was different. The staff recognized him immediately, bowed deeper, smiled wider. One of the managers, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, approached with the kind of deference usually reserved for royalty. Mr. Kang, it's an honor. I need a complete wardrobe, Lucien said, gesturing to Mary. Everything. Gowns, cocktail dresses, shoes, jewelry. The woman's gaze swept over Mary with professional assessment. Of course. Any particular style? Bold, elegant, unforgettable. The manager smiled. I have just the thing. For the next 2 hours, Mary was pulled into dressing rooms and fitted with clothes that cost more than she used to make in a month. Silk, velvet, lace, colors that ranged from midnight black to deep emerald to the kind of crimson that demanded attention. Every time she stepped out to show Lucien, he studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. That one, he'd say, or no, next. He was particular, demanding, but not cruel. And when Mary finally stepped out in a floor-length red gown with a plunging neckline and a slit that ran dangerously high up her thigh, Lucien went completely still. His eyes darkened. That's the one, he said quietly. Mary turned to the mirror. She barely recognized herself. The woman staring back wasn't the broken wife who'd cried in a hotel bar. She was something else, something dangerous. The dress clung to her curves like it had been painted on, the crimson fabric catching the light with every movement. Jaemin had always forbidden her from wearing red. Too much attention, he'd said. You're my wife, not a showpiece. But under Lucien's gaze, red felt like power. We'll take it, Lucien told the manager, and everything else she tried on. Mary's eyes widened. That's necessary. Lucien stood, buttoning his jacket. If you're going to be seen with me, you need to look the part. The manager beamed and disappeared to process the order. Mary turned to Lucien. This is too much. It's an investment. In what? Destroying your husband. The bluntness should have felt cold, but instead, it felt honest. Real. Lucien wasn't pretending to care about her, wasn't offering false comfort or empty promises. He wanted revenge, and he was giving her the tools to take it. Mary could respect that. As they left the boutique, bags in hand, Lucien's phone rang. He answered, his expression hardening as he listened. When? He asked sharply. A pause. Handle it. I'll be there in an hour. He ended the call and looked at Mary. I have to deal with something. The driver will take you back to the penthouse. What happened? Business. There was an edge to his voice that told Mary not to push. She nodded. But as they walked toward the car, Mary caught sight of something that made her blood freeze. Across the street, half hidden behind a tinted car window, was a face she recognized. Yuri Han, Jaemin's mistress, and she was staring directly at them. Mary's pulse spiked. Lucien, I see her. His voice was calm. Too calm. Yuri's car pulled away a moment later, disappearing into traffic. But the damage was done. Jaemin would know. That was intentional, Mary said. You wanted her to see us. Lucien opened the car door for her. I wanted him to know you moved on. Now he does. Mary climbed inside, her mind racing. This wasn't a game anymore. Jaemin wouldn't let this slide. He'd retaliate. And when he did, don't worry, Lucien said, leaning down to meet her gaze. I'll handle him. Then he closed the door, and the car pulled away. Mary sat in silence as Seoul blurred past the windows. Her heart pounded. Her hands trembled, because she'd just crossed a line there was no coming back from. And somewhere in the city, Jaemin Kwan was about to find out his discarded wife had just aligned herself with his most dangerous enemy. The penthouse felt different when Mary returned alone. Emptier, colder. The floor-to-ceiling windows that had seemed breathtaking hours earlier now felt like glass walls trapping her inside a decision she couldn't take back. She stood in the center of the living room, shopping bags scattered around her feet, and tried to steady her breathing. Yuri had seen them, which meant Jaemin knew. Mary's phone buzzed in her purse. She pulled it out with shaking hands. 17 missed calls, all from Jaemin. Her stomach twisted. She stared at his name on the screen, her thumb hovering over the callback button. Part of her, the part that had spent 3 years trying to be the perfect wife, wanted to answer, wanted to explain, apologize. But the rest of her? The rest of her wanted to watch him burn. She silenced the phone and threw it onto the couch. Outside, Seoul's skyline glittered like broken glass against the darkening sky. Mary poured herself a drink from Lucien's bar. Expensive scotch that burned going down, and tried to quiet the war raging inside her chest. What the hell was she doing? 24 hours ago, she'd been crying in a hotel bar. Now she was living in a stranger's penthouse, wearing clothes that cost more than her old car, preparing to walk into a charity gala on the arm of the most dangerous man in Seoul. This was insane. But God, it felt good. The elevator chimed. Mary spun around, heart hammering. Lucien stepped out, loosening his tie as he crossed the marble floor. His expression was unreadable, but there was tension in his shoulders. Something had happened. Everything okay? Mary asked. Fine. He was lying. She could see it in the tight set of his jaw. Lucien, did Jaemin call you? Mary blinked. How did you know? Because Yuri called him the second we left the boutique. I'd be shocked if he didn't lose his mind. Lucien poured himself a drink. What did you tell him? Nothing. I didn't answer. Good. He's going to keep calling. Let him. Mary crossed her arms. You want him desperate. I want him rattled. Lucien took a slow sip. Desperate men make mistakes. And when Jaemin makes his, I'll be ready. There was something cold in his voice, something that reminded Mary this wasn't just about revenge for her. Lucien had his own war with Jaemin, his own reasons for wanting to watch him fall. She was just a convenient weapon. What happened today? Mary asked. After you left? Lucien's eyes narrowed. Why do you care? Because I'm standing in your penthouse wearing clothes you bought, preparing to play your fake girlfriend at a gala tomorrow night. I think I deserve to know what I'm walking into. For a moment, she thought he'd shut her down. But then Lucien set his glass on the counter and met her gaze. One of my warehouses was hit this afternoon. Someone torched it, destroyed over 10 million won in inventory. Mary's blood chilled. Jaemin. Probably, but I can't prove it yet. Jesus. Welcome to my world, Mary. Lucien's expression hardened. This isn't a game. Jaemin plays dirty. Always has. And now that you're involved, he's going to come after you too. I can handle it. Can you? The question hung between them like a blade. Mary lifted her chin. I didn't come this far to back out now. Lucien studied her. Then something shifted in his expression, something almost like respect. Get some sleep, he said quietly. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. He turned to leave. Lucien, he paused. Thank you for this. He looked back, his dark eyes unreadable. Don't thank me yet. Then he disappeared down the hallway, leaving Mary alone with her scotch and the creeping realization that she'd just stepped into a war she didn't fully understand. Bullshit. The next morning arrived with brutal efficiency. A team of stylists showed up at 7 sharp. Hair, makeup, nails, everything. They descended on Mary like a tactical unit, transforming her into something polished and lethal. By the time they finished, she barely recognized the woman staring back from the mirror. Her hair had been swept into an elegant updo. Her makeup was dramatic but refined. Sharp eyeliner, deep red lips, skin that glowed like she'd never cried herself to sleep in her life. She looked expensive, untouchable, exactly what Lucien needed her to be. The red gown fit perfectly. The stylist had tailored it overnight, and now it clung to her body like a second skin. Mary turned slowly, watching the fabric catch the light. Jamin was going to lose his mind. Mr. Kang is waiting, one of the stylists said. Mary took a breath, smoothed the front of her dress, and walked out of the bedroom. Lucien stood near the elevator in a black tuxedo that looked like it had been designed specifically to make women forget how to breathe. His hair was slicked back, his jaw clean-shaven, his expression unreadable as always. But when he saw her, he went completely still. His eyes darkened. You look... He stopped, cleared his throat. Good. You look good. Mary raised an eyebrow. Just good? Dangerous. A smile tugged at her lips. That's the idea, isn't it? Lucien's gaze traveled slowly down her body and back up again, and Mary felt heat coil low in her stomach. This was supposed to be fake, a performance. But the way he looked at her didn't feel like acting. It felt real. We should go, Lucien said, his voice rough. Mary nodded, not trusting herself to speak. They rode the elevator down in silence. The air between them felt charged, electric. Mary kept her eyes forward, hyper-aware of every breath Lucien took, every subtle shift of his body. The car was waiting outside. Lucien opened the door for her and Mary slid into the back seat. He followed, settling beside her with controlled grace. The driver pulled away from the curb, merging into Seoul's afternoon traffic. Remind me what this gala is for, Mary said. Children's Literacy Foundation. Very prestigious. Half of Seoul's elite will be there, including Jamin. Especially Jamin. His mother sits on the board. Mary's stomach twisted. His mother. Mrs. Kwan is formidable. She'll be watching you. Great. Lucien glanced at her. Are you nervous? Terrified. Good. Use it. Mary turned to face him. How? Fear makes you sharp. Alert. People who aren't afraid make mistakes. Lucien's expression softened slightly. Just stay close to me. I'll handle the rest. And if Jamin confronts me? He will. Then what? Lucien's jaw tightened. Let him make a scene. The more unhinged he looks, the better. Mary swallowed hard. You're really going to enjoy this, aren't you? Yes. At least he was honest. The car pulled up to the Grand Hyatt Seoul. Red carpet stretched from the curb to the entrance, lined with photographers and camera crews. Guests in glittering gowns and tailored tuxedos streamed inside, pausing for photos beneath the flashing lights. Mary's pulse spiked. This was it. Lucien squeezed her hand. Ready? She met his gaze. No. Perfect. The driver opened the door. Lucien stepped out first, then turned and offered his hand. Mary took it, her fingers trembling slightly as he helped her out of the car. The cameras exploded. Flashes erupted like lightning. Photographers shouted questions in Korean and English. Mary froze, blinded by the sudden attention. But Lucien didn't hesitate. He pulled her close, one hand settling possessively on the small of her back, his body shielding her from the worst of the chaos. His touch burned through the thin fabric of her dress. Smile, he murmured against her ear. Mary forced her lips to curve. The cameras kept flashing. Mr. Kang, who's your date? Is this your girlfriend? How long have you been together? Lucien ignored them all. He guided Mary forward with the kind of confidence that made people step aside without thinking. They moved through the crowd like royalty, and Mary felt every eye in the vicinity lock onto them. This was what Lucien wanted. Attention, scandal, proof that Mary Holloway had moved on. They stepped into the lobby, and the noise of the cameras faded behind them. Mary exhaled slowly, her heart still racing. "You did well," Lucien said. "I didn't do anything." Exactly. The ballroom was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen stars. Tables draped in white silk surrounded a polished dance floor. A string quartet played soft classical music in the corner. Everywhere Mary looked, she saw wealth, power. The kind of people who shaped Seoul with a handshake and a smile. And somewhere in this room was Jaemin. "There," Lucien said quietly. Mary followed his gaze. Jaemin stood near the bar with a group of suited men, laughing at something one of them said. He looked the same as always. Handsome, polished, completely in control. Like he hadn't just destroyed his marriage and moved his mistress into his home. Mary's hands curled into fists. "Breathe," Lucien murmured. She forced air into her lungs. Then Jaemin turned. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom, and everything stopped. Mary watched the laughter drain from Jaemin's face, watched his expression shift from amusement to confusion to shock to pure, unfiltered rage. His gaze dropped to Lucien's hand on her waist, and his jaw clenched so hard she thought he might shatter his teeth. "Good. Let him suffer." "He's coming over," Lucien said calmly. Mary's pulse spiked. "What do I—" "Nothing. Just stay next to me." Jaemin crossed the ballroom like a man on a mission. His colleagues called after him, but he ignored them. His eyes never left Mary. He stopped 3 feet away. Up close, Mary could see the barely controlled fury simmering beneath his polished exterior. His hands trembled slightly. His breathing was too fast. "Mary!" Her name came out like a curse. "Jaemin," she said coolly. His gaze flicked to Lucien. "Kang." "Quan." Lucien's voice was ice. "Lovely event. Your mother outdid herself." "What the hell is this?" Jaemin's voice was low, dangerous. Mary lifted her chin. "I don't know what you mean. Don't play stupid. What are you doing here with him?" "Attending a charity gala, same as you." Jaemin's face flushed. "We need to talk, privately." "I don't think so." "Mary—" She said no. Lucien cut in smoothly. "I suggest you respect that." Jaemin's eyes blazed. "Stay out of this, Kang. This is between me and my wife." "Ex-wife," Mary corrected. The word hit him like a slap. Jaemin took a step closer, his voice dropping to a hiss. "You left 3 days ago. We're not divorced. Yet. You can't be serious. Watch me." Jaemin's control snapped. "You're making a mistake. Whatever he told you, whatever promises he made, he's lying. Lucien Kang doesn't care about you. He's using you to get to me." Mary smiled. "I know." Confusion flickered across Jaemin's face. "What?" "I know he's using me. I don't care. Because watching you lose your mind is worth it." Jaemin stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Then his expression twisted into something ugly. "You're pathetic," he spat. "Running straight into another man's bed the second things got hard. I should have known you didn't have the spine to handle real marriage." Mary felt Lucien tense beside her. "Careful," Lucien said quietly. But Jaemin wasn't done. "You want to know why I asked for an open marriage?" he continued, his voice rising. "Because I was tired of pretending, tired of watching you fail over and over again, tired of coming home to a wife who couldn't give me the one thing I actually needed." The words cut deep. But Mary refused to flinch. "You're right," she said evenly. "I couldn't give you an heir, but that's not why you wanted an open marriage. You wanted it because you're a coward who can't handle being alone with your own failures." Jaemin's face went white. "Let's go," Lucien said, his hand tightening on Mary's waist. They turned to walk away. "This isn't over," Jaemin called after them. Lucien looked back. "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." Then they disappeared into the crowd, leaving Jaemin standing alone in the middle of the ballroom. Mary's heart pounded so hard she thought it might explode. "You okay?" Lucien asked. "No, but I will be." He guided her to a quiet corner near the windows overlooking the city. Mary pressed her palms against the cool glass, trying to steady her breathing. That was brutal, Lucien finished. He's never talked to me like that before. He's desperate, and desperate men say things they regret. Mary laughed bitterly. I doubt he'll regret it. He will. Tomorrow. When every news outlet in Seoul runs photos of you with me. Mary turned to face him. Is that what you want? For me to be tabloid fodder? I want him to see what he threw away. Why? The question came out sharper than she intended. Why do you care what Jaemin thinks of me? Lucien's expression darkened. Because he treated you like you were disposable, and no one deserves that. There was something raw in his voice, something personal. Mary studied him. What did he do to you? Really? I told you. You told me about the business sabotage, but there's more. I can see it. Lucien's jaw tightened. For a moment, Mary thought he wouldn't answer. Then he spoke. 5 years ago, I was engaged. Mary's breath caught. Her name was Sujin. We'd been together since university. She was... Lucien paused, his gaze distant. Everything. What happened? Jaemin happened. Lucien's voice turned cold. He met her at a business dinner, started pursuing her, sent gifts, offered her things I couldn't afford at the time. I was still building my company, still clawing my way up. Mary's stomach twisted. She left me 3 months before our wedding, married Jaemin 6 months later. Jesus. The marriage lasted 2 years. Then he got bored, divorced her, moved on to someone else. Lucien's hands curled into fists. Last I heard, she'd moved to Europe. Didn't want anything to do with Seoul. Mary felt something crack open inside her chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. It taught me something important. What? That people like Jaemin only value things they can control. The second you show independence, they discard you. Lucien turned to face her fully. But you didn't let him break you. You left. That takes strength. Mary's throat tightened. I don't feel strong. You are. You just don't see it yet. The air between them shifted. Lucien stepped closer, close enough that Mary could smell his cologne. Something dark and expensive. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. This is still fake, right? She asked quietly. What do you think? I think you're very good at blurring lines. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. So are you. Mary's pulse quickened. Before she could respond, a voice cut through the moment. Lucien Kang. They both turned. An older woman in a black gown approached, her expression carved from ice. Mary recognized her immediately. Mrs. Kwan, Jaemin's mother. Lucien straightened. Mrs. Kwan, lovely event. Save the pleasantries. Mrs. Kwan's gaze shifted to Mary, cold and assessing. So you're the American girl my son married? Mary forced herself to meet the woman's eyes. Yes. I warned him against it. Foreign wives never understand our ways. With all due respect, your son didn't seem interested in teaching me. Mrs. Kwan's expression didn't change. And now you've moved on to Mr. Kang. How efficient. I prefer to think of it as survival. Survival. Mrs. Kwan's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Is that what you call this? Parading yourself through Seoul's elite on the arm of my son's rival? I call it living my life. You're embarrassing yourself. And my family. Lucien stepped forward. I think you've said enough. Mrs. Kwan's eyes flashed. Stay out of this, Mr. Kang. This is family business. Mary isn't your family anymore. Jaemin made sure of that. My son made a mistake. Your son moved his mistress into their home, Lucien said coldly. Don't lecture Mary about embarrassment. Mrs. Kwan's face flushed. For a moment, Mary thought the woman might slap him. Instead, she turned back to Mary. You'll regret this, she said quietly. Whatever you think you're doing, it will end badly. For both of you. Then she walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Mary exhaled slowly. That went well. She's terrified. Of what? Losing control. The Kwans have spent decades building their reputation. You threatening that makes you dangerous. I'm not threatening anything. I just want a divorce. Lucien's expression darkened. In their world, that's the same thing. Mary rubbed her temples. I need a drink. I'll get you one. Stay here. He disappeared into the crowd, leaving Mary alone near the windows. She watched the party unfold before her. Seoul's elite laughing, drinking, pretending their lives were perfect. How many of them were hiding secrets? How many marriages were just elaborate performances? How many women felt as trapped as she had? Her phone buzzed. Mary pulled it out, expecting another call from Jamin. Instead, it was a text from an unknown number. You have no idea what you've started. Mary's blood chilled. Another text appeared. Lucien Kang is more dangerous than my son. Be careful. Then a third, or you'll end up like Soo-jin. Mary's hands trembled. She looked up, scanning the ballroom for whoever sent the messages. But there were too many people. Too many faces. Lucien returned with 2 glasses of champagne. What's wrong? Mary showed him the text. His expression went cold, deadly. Mrs. Kwan? Maybe. Or Jamin. Lucien handed her a glass. Ignore it. They're trying to scare you. It's working. Don't let them see that. Mary took a shaky sip of champagne. What happened to Soo-jin? Really? Lucien's jaw tightened. I told you, she left Seoul. But why? What made her run? I don't know. She wouldn't talk to me after the divorce, just disappeared. There was pain in his voice. Old pain, the kind that never fully healed. Mary wanted to press further, but before she could, the lights dimmed. A spotlight illuminated the center of the ballroom. Mrs. Kwan stood beneath it, microphone in hand, smiling like she hadn't just threatened Mary minutes ago. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Her speech blurred into background noise as Mary's mind raced. Something was wrong. The texts, Mrs. Kwan's warning, the way Lucien avoided talking about Soo-jin. There were pieces of this story she wasn't seeing. And suddenly, Mary realized she'd walked into something far more complicated than simple revenge. The gala ended 2 hours later. Mary and Lucien left through a side entrance to avoid the cameras. The car was waiting, and they slid into the back seat in exhausted silence. That was been, Mary started. A disaster, Lucien finished. I was going to say interesting. Jamin made a scene. His mother threatened you. Someone sent you anonymous texts. I'd call that a disaster. Mary leaned back against the seat. But we got what we wanted. People saw us together. The cameras got their shots. By tomorrow, every news outlet in Seoul will be talking about us. True. So why do you look like you're about to murder someone? Lucien's expression was dark, dangerous. Because I don't like people threatening you. The words sent a shiver through her. It was just texts. For now. Mary turned to face him. You think they'll escalate? I know they will. Jamin doesn't handle humiliation well, and his mother is even worse. So what do we do? Lucien met her gaze. We push harder. Make them more desperate. Force them into making a mistake. And if they come after me, they won't get the chance. I'll make sure of it. There was something absolute in his voice, something protective. Mary's chest tightened. This was still supposed to be fake, but the way Lucien looked at her, the way his hand found hers in the darkness of the car, his fingers threading through hers like it was the most natural thing in the world, didn't feel like acting. It felt real, dangerous, inevitable. The car pulled up to the penthouse. They rode the elevator in silence, the air between them thick with tension. When the doors opened, Lucien followed her inside. Mary kicked off her heels, sighing in relief as her feet hit the cool marble floor. Thank you, she said, for tonight, for handling his mother, for... Mary! She turned. Lucien stood inches away, his dark eyes burning with something she couldn't name. This is getting complicated, he said quietly. I know. We should establish boundaries, rules. Okay, but neither of them moved. The space between them felt electric, charged, like the air before a lightning strike. Lucien! He kissed her, not slow, not gentle, desperate. His hands cupped her face as he backed her against the wall, his body pressing against hers with barely controlled intensity. Mary gasped, her fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't fake. This was real, and terrifying and absolutely inevitable. Lucien pulled back just enough to meet her eyes, both of them breathing hard. That was gunfire shattered the windows. Glass exploded inward as bullets tore through the penthouse. Lucien threw Mary to the floor, covering her body with his as chaos erupted around them. Mary's ears rang, her heart hammered. What the hell was happening? Lucien pulled a gun from somewhere, she hadn't even known he was armed, and returned fire toward the shattered windows. His men poured out of the elevator, weapons drawn, shouting in Korean. The shooting stopped as suddenly as it started. Silence fell. Lucien stayed on top of Mary, shielding her, his breath hot against her neck. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "No, He pulled her to her feet, checking her over with frantic hands. "Are you sure?" "I'm fine." What the hell was that? Lucien's expression turned murderous. A message. One of his men approached, speaking rapid Korean. Lucien listened, his jaw tightening with every word. Then he turned to Mary. "Pack a bag. We're leaving." "What? Why?" "Because whoever just tried to kill us isn't going to stop." Lucien gripped her shoulders. "This is real now, Mary. This is war. And if you stay here, you're a target." Mary's blood turned to ice because she finally understood. This wasn't a game. This wasn't revenge. This was survival. And she'd just crossed a line there was no coming back from. Mary threw clothes into a suitcase with shaking hands. Her ears still rang from the gunfire. Glass crunched under her feet. Through the shattered windows, Seoul's skyline glittered like nothing had happened, like someone hadn't just tried to kill them both. Lucien stood in the doorway, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean. His voice was cold, controlled. But Mary could see the fury simmering beneath the surface in the way his free hand kept curling into a fist. He ended the call. 5 minutes, he said. Then we're gone. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. Lucien crossed the room in 3 strides and gripped her shoulders. Mary, listen to me. Whoever ordered this hit knew exactly where we'd be tonight. They knew when we'd return. That means someone close to either you or me is feeding them information. Mary's stomach dropped. You think there's a mole? I know there is. But your men have been with me for years, which means the leak is somewhere else. His eyes bore into hers. Did you tell anyone about tonight? Where you were staying? No, I barely know anyone in Seoul except... Mary stopped. Jaemin. He already knew about the penthouse. Yuri saw us at the boutique. Then who? Lucien's jaw tightened. I don't know yet, but I will. A black SUV pulled up outside, visible through the broken windows. 3 more vehicles surrounded it, all identical, all filled with armed men. Let's go, Lucien said. They rode the elevator down in tense silence. Mary's mind raced. Someone had tried to kill them, not scare them, not threaten them, actually kill them. This wasn't a game anymore. The SUV's door opened and Lucien ushered her inside before sliding in beside her. The convoy pulled away from the building, moving fast through Seoul's late-night traffic. Mary stared out the window, watching the city blur past. How did you know to have a gun? I always have a gun. That's not comforting. It should be. It kept you alive tonight. Mary turned to face him. Is this what your life is always like? People shooting at you through windows? Lucien's expression remained neutral. Sometimes. Jesus Christ. You knew what I was when you agreed to this. I knew you were dangerous. I didn't know people actively tried to murder you on a regular basis. Welcome to my world. The words should have sounded arrogant. Instead, they sounded tired. Mary studied him in the dim light of the car. For the first time since she'd met him, Lucien looked exhausted. The carefully controlled mask had cracked just slightly, revealing something raw underneath. When was the last time someone tried to kill you? She asked quietly. 6 months ago. And before that? A year. Does it ever stop? Lucien met her gaze. No. This is the price of power, Mary. There's always someone who wants what you have, someone willing to do anything to take it. That's not a life. That's survival. What's the difference? The question hung between them like smoke. The convoy turned down a narrow street lined with traditional Hanok houses. They pulled up to a nondescript building with a reinforced steel door. One of Lucien's men got out and scanned his fingerprint. The door slid open. They descended into an underground garage. Safe house, Lucien explained. Only 5 people know it exists. And you trust all 5? I trust 3 of them. Not exactly reassuring. They took a private elevator up. When the doors opened, Mary stepped into a space that looked nothing like a safe house. It was elegant, modern. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined one wall. Expensive art hung on exposed brick. Large windows overlooked a private courtyard. How many of these do you have? Mary asked. Enough. A woman emerged from the kitchen. Mid-30s, sharp eyes. She carried herself like someone who'd seen combat. This is Jiwoo, Lucien said. She'll be staying with us. Former military. You can trust her. Jiwoo nodded at Mary but didn't smile. I've secured the perimeter. No one followed you. Good. Run a full sweep anyway. Jiwoo disappeared down a hallway. Lucien poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to Mary. Drink. She did. The alcohol burned, grounding her. What happens now? Mary asked. Now we figure out who's trying to kill us and why. You don't know? I have theories, but I need proof before I act. Mary sank onto the leather couch. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her hollow and shaky. This is insane. 2 days ago I was crying in a hotel bar. Now I'm hiding in a safe house because someone shot at us. Lucien sat beside her, close. You can still walk away. To what? Jaemin already knows I'm with you. His mother threatened me. Someone just tried to kill me. There's no going back. There's always a choice. Mary laughed bitterly. You're giving me an out? Now? I'm giving you the truth. This gets worse before it gets better. And if you're not prepared for that, I'm not prepared for any of this. Mary turned to face him. But I'm not running either. Jaemin spent 3 years making me feel small, worthless, like I was only valuable if I could give him what he wanted. I'm done being that person. Lucien's expression softened. You were never worthless. Tell that to his mother. Mrs. Kwan is a bitter woman clinging to outdated traditions. Her opinion doesn't matter. It matters to Jaemin. That's his problem, not yours. Mary took another drink. Why are you really doing this? And don't tell me it's just about revenge. Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. When Sujin left me, I almost destroyed myself trying to win her back. I begged, pleaded, offered her everything I had. It didn't matter. Jaemin had already convinced her I'd never be enough. His voice was raw, stripped of the usual control. I spent years hating her for choosing him, but eventually I realized she was just another victim. Jaemin doesn't love people. He collects them, and when they stop being useful, he discards them. Like he did to me, Mary whispered. Exactly like he did to you. Their eyes met. So this isn't just revenge, Mary said. This is justice. Call it whatever helps you sleep at night. The air between them felt heavy, charged. Mary set down her glass. That kiss earlier, before the shooting, was that part of the act? Lucien's gaze darkened. What do you think? I think you're very good at not answering questions. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. So are you. Before Mary could respond, Jiwoo returned. Perimeter's clear. No signs of surveillance. Good. I want rotating guards. No one in or out without my clearance. Jiwoo nodded and left again. Lucien stood. You should get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. More complicated than getting shot at. Significantly. He showed her to a bedroom at the end of the hall. Large bed. Minimalist furniture. Blackout curtains. Lock the door, Lucien said. Don't open it for anyone except me or Jiwoo. You're scaring me. Good. Fear keeps you alive. He turned to leave. Lucien. He paused. Thank you for protecting me tonight. His expression was unreadable. Get some sleep, Mary. Then he was gone. Mary locked the door and sank onto the bed. Her entire body ached. Her mind wouldn't stop racing. Someone had tried to kill them. But who? And why? She thought about the texts from earlier, the warnings, Mrs. Kwan's cold threat, you'll end up like Sujin. What did that mean? Mary pulled out her phone and searched for Sujin's name. Nothing came up except old engagement announcements and a brief mention of her divorce from Jae-min. Then she found something else. A news article from 3 years ago. Seoul heiress injured in car accident. Mary's blood chilled as she read. Soo-jin had been in a serious accident shortly after her divorce. The article was vague on details, but it mentioned she'd been hospitalized for months. Then, nothing. No follow-up, no updates. Just silence. Mary's hands trembled as she kept searching. Finally, she found a brief mention in a gossip blog. Former Mrs. Kwan spotted in Paris. Sources say she's recovering from extensive reconstructive surgery after the accident left her face severely damaged. Mary's stomach turned. Reconstructive surgery, extensive injuries. This wasn't a simple car accident, and suddenly, Mrs. Kwan's warning made terrible sense. Or you'll end up like Soo-jin, not a threat, a promise. Mary's door flew open. She screamed, dropping her phone. But it was just Lucien. He crossed the room in 2 strides, his face dark with fury. "What's wrong?" Mary gasped. "We need to talk. Now." His tone sent ice through her veins. "What happened?" Lucien held up his phone. "I just got a call from one of my sources. Someone's been digging into your background." "What? Who?" "I don't know yet, but they've accessed your medical records, your bank accounts, everything." Mary's pulse spiked. "How is that possible?" "Money. Influence. Take your pick." Lucien's jaw was tight. "Whoever's behind this wants to know everything about you." "Why?" "To find leverage, weak points, things they can use against you." Mary's mind raced. "My medical records, the fertility treatments, Jae-min knows all of that." "Not all of it." She looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" Lucien sat on the edge of the bed. His expression was carefully neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Something like guilt. "The fertility reports," he said quietly. "The ones Jae-min used to convince you that you were the problem. What about them?" "They were fake." The room tilted. "What?" "The reports were altered. You were never infertile, Mary." The words hit like a physical blow. Mary couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "How?" Her voice cracked. "How do you know that?" Lucien met her gaze. "Because I had your real medical records pulled tonight, after the shooting. I needed to know if there was anything in your background that could be weaponized against us." Mary stood on shaking legs. "You went through my medical records without asking me?" "I was trying to protect you, Epiky." "You had no right." "Mary, did you know?" Her voice rose. "Before tonight. Did you know the reports were fake?" Lucien's silence was answer enough. "Oh my God." Mary backed away from him. "You knew. This whole time, you knew." "I found out 2 days ago. I was trying to figure out how to tell you." "How to tell me?" Mary's voice turned shrill. "You've been sitting on this information for 2 days while I walked around thinking I was broken? I wanted proof before I said anything. You wanted to use it." The realization hit her like lightning. "You wanted to wait until the perfect moment to reveal it. Maximum damage to Jae-min." Lucien stood. "That's not. Don't lie to me. This was always about your revenge, wasn't it? I was just a convenient weapon." "Mary, listen." "No, you listen." Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "I trusted you. I thought we were in this together, but you're just like him. You're just like Jae-min." Lucien's expression hardened. "I am nothing like him." "Really? Because he lied to me about my own body, and you knew the truth and kept it from me anyway. How is that different?" "Because I was going to tell you." "When? After you'd gotten everything you wanted from me?" The accusation hung in the air. Lucien's jaw clenched. "You're upset. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly for the first time since I met you." Mary's voice shook. "This was never about helping me. This was about destroying Jae-min, and I was stupid enough to believe you actually cared. I do care. Stop. Just stop." Mary grabbed her suitcase. "I'm leaving." "You can't leave. It's not safe." "I don't care." Lucien moved to block the door. "Mary, please, just let me explain." "Explain what? That you manipulated me? That you used my pain for your own agenda?" She laughed bitterly. "I already figured that out." "That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" Lucien's control finally cracked. It's complicated. No, it's really not. You wanted revenge on Jamin. I gave you the perfect opportunity. End of story. That's not. He stopped, exhaled. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, rawer. At first, yes, that's all it was, but somewhere along the way, things changed. Changed how? You know how. Mary's heart pounded. Say it. No. Why not? Because it doesn't matter. Lucien's voice rose. Someone just tried to kill us. There's a mole in my organization. Jamin is planning something, and you want to have a conversation about feelings? I want the truth. The truth is, I don't know anymore. The admission seemed to cost him. I don't know if this is real or if I'm just as manipulative as Jamin. I don't know if I'm protecting you or using you. I don't know anything except that when those bullets started flying, the only thing I cared about was keeping you alive. The words echoed in the silence. Mary stared at him. I can't do this. Mary, I need space. I need to think. She pushed past him and walked out of the room. Jiwoo stood in the hallway, clearly having heard everything. She looked at Mary with something like sympathy. There's a guest room 2 doors down, Jiwoo said quietly. I'll make sure no one bothers you. Mary nodded, not trusting her voice. She locked herself in the guest room and finally let the tears fall. Morning came with brutal efficiency. Mary woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the immediate reminder that her life had imploded. Again. She dragged herself to the bathroom and stared at her reflection. Mascara streaked her cheeks. Her eyes were swollen. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who'd trusted the wrong man. Again. When she finally emerged, Jiwoo was waiting with coffee. Mr. Kang is in his office, Jiwoo said. He asked me to bring you breakfast. Tell him I'm not hungry. You should eat something. Mary took the coffee but left the food untouched. She wandered into the living room and stood by the windows overlooking the courtyard. Seoul stretched beyond the walls, vast, indifferent, unaware that Mary's world had shattered overnight. Footsteps behind her. We need to talk, Lucien said. Mary didn't turn around. I don't want to. Too bad, because I just got information you need to hear. Something in his tone made her look back. Lucien's expression was grim, exhausted, like he hadn't slept at all. What information? He held up his phone. The shooting last night wasn't random. I know that. It also wasn't ordered by Jamin. Mary blinked. What? I had my people trace the shooters. They're not connected to the Kwan family. They're freelance, hired through an encrypted channel. Then who? That's the question. Lucien's jaw tightened. But whoever it was had access to our schedule, knew where we'd be, when we'd return. That's inside information. Mary's stomach twisted. The mole. Exactly. But why would someone on your side want us dead? Lucien was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Mary's blood freeze. What if they don't want us dead? What if they want me isolated? I don't understand. Think about it. The shooting happened right after the gala, right after I made it very public that I'm involved with you. If you'd been killed last night, what would I have done? Mary's mind raced. You would have gone after Jamin. Exactly. I would have assumed he ordered the hit, started a war, destroyed everything he's built. But you said the shooters weren't connected to him. They're not, which means someone's trying to frame him. The implications crashed over Mary like a wave. Someone wants you to destroy Jamin, she said slowly. They're using me as bait to make you do it. Lucien nodded grimly. And if you'd died, I would have fallen for it completely. Who benefits from you two destroying each other? Half of Seoul's business elite. I have enemies, Mary. So does Jamin. Someone smart enough to turn us against each other could sweep in and take everything while we're busy killing each other. Mary sank onto the couch. This is insane. Welcome to my world. You keep saying that like it's supposed to be comforting. Lucien sat beside her, not touching, just close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. I'm sorry, he said quietly, about the medical records, about not telling you sooner. You're right. I should have been honest from the beginning. Mary looked at him. Really looked. The careful mask was gone. What remained was exhaustion, regret, maybe even fear. "Why did you wait?" she asked. "Because I knew how you'd react. I knew you'd think I was manipulating you, and part of me was terrified you were right." "Were you manipulating me?" "At first?" Lucien's voice was raw. "Probably. But somewhere between the gala and last night, this stopped being about Jae-min." "Then what's it about?" He turned to face her fully. "You." The word hung between them. Mary's chest tightened. "Lucien, I know it's complicated. I know I've given you every reason not to trust me. But when those bullets started flying, all I could think was that I couldn't lose you. Not because you're useful, not because you're part of some plan, but because—" His phone rang. Lucien cursed and answered. "What?" His expression changed instantly, darkened. "When?" he demanded. A pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ended the call and stood. "What happened?" Mary asked. "Jae-min just called a press conference. He's about to make a statement." "About what?" Lucien's expression was murderous. "About you." Now, they made it to Kang Industries headquarters in 15 minutes. The conference room was packed with staff, all staring at the large screen displaying a live news feed. Jae-min stood behind a podium, looking every inch the wronged husband. His mother sat behind him, expression carved from ice. Mary's blood chilled. "What is he doing?" she whispered. "Controlling the narrative," Lucien said grimly. On screen, Jae-min cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I've called this press conference to address the recent rumors surrounding my marriage and to set the record straight." Mary's pulse spiked. "Over the past few days, several news outlets have published photographs of my wife, Mary Holloway, with Lucien Kang. I want to be very clear about what's happening here." He paused for effect. "My wife is not well. She's been struggling with severe depression following multiple failed fertility treatments. The stress has affected her judgment, her decision-making, and I believe she's being manipulated by someone who wants to use her emotional vulnerability for his own gain." "That bastard," Mary breathed. Lucien's hand found hers, squeezed. Jae-min continued, "I love my wife. Despite everything, I want her to get the help she needs, which is why I'm publicly asking her to come home, to seek professional help, to let me support her through this difficult time." The cameras flashed. "As for Mr. Kang's involvement, I have no comment except to say that his history of targeting vulnerable women is well documented. I urge anyone following this story to remember that my wife is not a scandal. She's a woman in crisis. And she deserves compassion, not judgment." Mary felt like she'd been punched. Jae-min was painting her as mentally unstable, as a victim who couldn't make her own decisions. Every word was calculated to make her look weak, broken, crazy, and Seoul's elite would eat it up. "He's destroying you," Ji-woo said quietly from behind them. "Strategically brilliant," Lucien admitted, his voice dark. "Now, if we push back, it looks like I'm taking advantage of an unstable woman. If we stay silent, he controls the narrative." "So what do we do?" Mary asked. Lucien's expression turned dangerous. "We fight back." "How?" "By telling the truth. All of it." Mary's stomach dropped. "The medical records." "Yes. If we release those, Jae-min's finished." "Exactly." Mary stared at the screen where Jae-min stood looking concerned and loving and completely full of shit. He'd manipulated her for years, made her believe she was broken, and now he was using her supposed mental illness to discredit her publicly. Rage burned through her veins. "Do it," she said. Lucien looked at her sharply. "Are you sure? Once we release this, there's no taking it back. Your private medical information becomes public." "I don't care. He spent 3 years lying to me. Let the whole world see what kind of man he really is." "Mary, do it, Lucien, please." He studied her face, then nodded. "Ji-woo, call our legal team. I want those records verified and released within the hour. Anonymous source. Make sure every major news outlet gets a copy." Ji-woo disappeared. Lucien turned back to Mary. "This is going to get ugly." "It's already ugly." "This is different. The fertility records will prove Jae-min lied, but they'll also expose you in ways you might not be prepared for. Every detail of your medical history, your struggles, everything." Mary's hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "I'm done hiding. If this is what it takes to destroy him, then let's do it." Lucien's expression softened. You're stronger than you think. Or stupider. Sometimes those are the same thing. Mary almost smiled. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Who is this? Mary demanded. A woman's voice. Broken. Terrified. Mary Holloway? Yes. Who? My name is Soo Jin, and you need to get away from Lucien Kang before he destroys you like he destroyed me. Mary's world stopped. She looked at Lucien, whose expression had gone completely blank. Soo Jin? Mary whispered. But you're in hiding because Lucien Kang isn't who you think he is. The woman's voice shook. The car accident. The surgeries. It wasn't Jae-min who did that to me. Mary's blood turned to ice. What are you saying? I'm saying Lucien Kang is the most dangerous man in Seoul. And if you don't leave now, you'll end up worse than I did. Or you won't end up at all. The line went dead. Mary stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. Lucien watched her. What did she say? Mary's mind raced. The accident, the surgeries. Mrs. Kwan's warning. You'll end up like Soo Jin. Not a threat from the Kwans. A warning about Lucy N. Tell me the truth, Mary said, her voice shaking. The car accident. Soo Jin's injuries. Did you? No. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. Lucien's voice was ice. Whatever she told you, it's not true. Then why is she in hiding? Why did she sound terrified? Because someone got to her, fed her a story, convinced her I'm the enemy. Or maybe you are. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Lucien's expression turned dangerous. You think I would hurt an innocent woman? You think I'm capable of that? I don't know what you're capable of anymore. Then ask me. Ask me directly, and I'll tell you the truth. Mary's hands shook. Did you have anything to do with Soo Jin's accident? No. Did you threaten her? Hurt her? Force her to leave Seoul? No. Then why? Because I failed her. Lucien's control finally shattered. When Jae-min started destroying her reputation, when his family turned the entire city against her, I did nothing. I was too focused on rebuilding my own life to help her, and by the time I tried to reach out, she was gone. His voice cracked. I failed her, Mary. I let Jae-min's family ruin her, and I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But I never hurt her. I would never hurt someone I... He stopped. Exhaled. Someone I cared about. Mary wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But Soo Jin's voice echoed in her head, terrified, broken. I need proof, Mary said. What? I need proof that you're telling the truth. I need to talk to Soo Jin, face to face. I need to hear her story. Lucien's jaw tightened. I don't know where she is. Then find her. Mary, find her, Lucien, because right now, I don't know who to trust. Jae-min lied to me for years. You've been lying to me for days, and now Soo Jin's telling me you're dangerous. I don't know what's real anymore. What's real is that someone just tried to kill us both. What's real is that Jae-min is destroying your reputation on live television. What's real is that we're running out of time. Then you better work fast. Mary grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. Where are you going? Lucien demanded. Somewhere I can think. Somewhere I can figure out who's telling the truth and who's trying to destroy me. You can't leave. It's not safe. Mary turned back. Maybe you're the one who's not safe. The words hit like a slap. Lucien stood frozen as Mary walked out. Ji-woo intercepted her in the hallway. You shouldn't go alone. I need air. Then I'm coming with you. Mary didn't have the energy to argue. They took the elevator down to the parking garage. Ji-woo drove, navigating through Seoul's midday traffic without speaking. Finally, they pulled up to a quiet park overlooking the Han River. Mary got out and walked to the railing. The water stretched before her, dark and endless. Behind her, Ji-woo leaned against the car, giving her space but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Mary's phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Meet me. Tonight. 8 p.m. Gangnam Station. I'll tell you everything. Mary's hands trembled as she typed back. How do I know this isn't a trap? The response came immediately. You don't. But if you want the truth about Lucien Kang, you'll come anyway. Mary stared at the message. This was insane. Meeting a woman she'd never seen in a public place based on nothing but a terrified phone call and cryptic texts. But what choice did she have? Jaemin had destroyed her publicly. Lucien was keeping secrets. And somewhere in Seoul, a woman who'd survived something terrible was offering answers. Mary typed back, "I'll be there." She turned to Jiwoo. "I need you to do something for me." "What?" "I need you to not tell Lucien where I'm going tonight." Jiwoo's expression hardened. "He's trying to protect you. Or control me. I don't know which anymore." Mary met her gaze. "Please, I just need one night to figure this out on my own." Jiwoo studied her, then sighed. "One night, but I'm coming with you, and if anything looks even slightly wrong, we're out of there. Understood?" Mary nodded. As the sun set over Seoul, casting long shadows across the river, Mary made a decision. Tonight, she would find Sujin. Tonight, she would learn the truth. And if Lucien Kang really was the monster Sujin claimed, then Mary would have to do something she never thought possible. She'd have to destroy the man who'd saved her, or die trying. Gangnam Station at 8 p.m. was a writhing mass of humanity. Mary stood near the exit, shoulders hunched against the evening chill, scanning every face that passed. Commuters rushed by in waves, oblivious to the woman whose entire world balanced on the edge of a knife. Jiwoo lingered 10 feet away, pretending to check her phone while her eyes tracked every movement in the crowd. Mary's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. Meeting a stranger based on a terrified phone call and cryptic warnings, but the alternative was going back to Lucien's safe house, to his carefully constructed reality, never knowing if the man who'd kissed her was a savior or a monster. Her phone buzzed. "Look up." Mary's head snapped up. Across the platform, partially hidden behind a concrete pillar, stood a woman in a black coat and oversized sunglasses. Even from this distance, Mary could see the scars. They carved through the left side of her face like lightning, pulling at her mouth and eye in a way that spoke of extensive surgery and incomplete healing. "Sujin." The woman gestured with a slight tilt of her head, then disappeared into the crowd. Mary moved to follow, but Jiwoo grabbed her arm. "This feels wrong," Jiwoo hissed. "I have to know." "Then I'm coming with you." They pushed through the crowd, tracking Sujin's black coat as she wove between commuters with practiced efficiency. She led them down a side street, away from the station's bright lights into an area of narrow alleys and shuttered shops. Mary's instincts screamed danger, but she kept walking. Sujin finally stopped in front of a small cafe, its windows dark, a close sign hanging crooked on the door. She pulled out a key and let herself in. Jiwoo's hand went to her concealed weapon. "I don't like this." Noted. They followed Sujin inside. The cafe was empty, chairs stacked on tables, the smell of stale coffee and dust. Sujin stood in the center of the room, her back to them, shoulders trembling. "Lock the door," she said quietly. Jiwoo didn't move. Sujin turned, and in the dim light filtering through the windows, Mary finally saw the full extent of the damage. The scars weren't just on her face, they crawled down her neck, disappearing beneath her collar. Her left eye drooped slightly. Her mouth pulled to one side when she tried to speak. She'd been beautiful once. Mary could see the ghost of it in her bone structure. Now she looked like someone who'd been broken and put back together wrong. "Thank you for coming," Sujin said. Her voice was soft, tired. "You said you had information about Lucien." "I do." Sujin moved behind the counter, keeping distance between them. "But first, I need you to understand something. Everything Lucien Kang told you is a lie." Mary's chest tightened. "He said Jaemin stole you from him, that you left him for money. That part's true. I was young, stupid. Jaemin offered me the world, and I took it." Sujin's scarred face twisted into something bitter. "But that's not why Lucien hates him. That's not why he's using you." "Then why?" "Because 5 years ago, Lucien and Jaemin weren't rivals. They were partners." The words hit Mary like a punch. "What?" "Business partners. They co-owned a tech startup that was supposed to revolutionize Seoul's financial sector. It was worth billions on paper. Sujin's voice shook. But Jae-min got greedy. He wanted full control, so he started manipulating the board, bribing investors, forging documents to push Lucien out. Mary's mind raced. Lucien never mentioned. Of course he didn't, because what happened next is worse. Sujin gripped the counter. When Lucien found out, he didn't take it to court. He didn't fight fair. He burned the entire company to the ground. What? He leaked proprietary technology to their competitors, sabotaged their investors, destroyed everything they'd built just to make sure Jae-min couldn't have it. Sujin's voice turned hard. Hundreds of people lost their jobs. Investors lost millions. The company imploded in 3 months. Mary felt sick. That's not... And I was caught in the middle. I just divorced Jae-min. I thought I could rebuild my life, but Lucien... Sujin's voice cracked. He blamed me for betraying him, for choosing Jae-min, and he made sure everyone in Seoul knew it. He ruined your reputation. Worse, he made it impossible for me to work, to exist in Seoul's social circles. Every door I tried to open, he'd already poisoned. Sujin's hand trembled as she touched her scarred face. The car accident happened 3 months after the company collapsed. I was leaving a meeting with a potential employer when someone ran me off the road. Mary's blood chilled. You think, Lucien? I don't think. I know. Sujin pulled out her phone and showed Mary a photograph. A text message from an unknown number sent the day before her accident. You should have stayed loyal. That's not proof, Mary whispered. No, but this is. Sujin swiped to another photo. A bank transfer. 2 million won deposited into an account registered to a known criminal organization. The transfer originated from a shell company. A shell company Mary recognized from documents she'd seen in Lucien's office. Her stomach dropped. He paid them, Sujin said flatly. Paid someone to hurt me. To scar me so badly I'd never forget what happens to people who betray Lucien Kang. Mary backed away. No, this is... I spent 8 months in hospitals, 23 surgeries. And when I finally got out, Lucien's people made sure I understood. If I ever spoke about what happened, if I ever came back to Seoul, they'd finish what they started. Then why are you here now? Because I can't let him do to you what he did to me. Sujin's eyes filled with tears. I've been watching from a distance. I saw the photos of you two at the gala. I saw how he looks at you, and I recognized it. Recognized what? The same way he looked at me before everything fell apart. Like you matter. Like you're special. Sujin's voice turned bitter. But you're not special, Mary. You're a weapon. And the second you stop being useful, he'll destroy you just like he destroyed me. The room spun. Mary wanted to call her a liar, wanted to believe this was all manipulation from the Kwan family, that Sujin was a paid actress delivering carefully scripted lines. But the scars were real. The pain in her voice was real. And that bank transfer. I need air, Mary gasped. She stumbled toward the door, but Sujin grabbed her arm. Please, you have to leave him before it's too late. Go back to America, disappear. Because if you stay, if you keep playing his games... The cafe's front window exploded. Glass erupted inward as gunfire tore through the darkness. Mary hit the floor, screaming, as Jiwoo returned fire toward the street. Sujin collapsed behind the counter, blood blooming across her shoulder. Move, Jiwoo shouted. Mary crawled toward the back exit as bullets shredded the cafe around them. Her ears rang. Her hands scraped against broken glass. Behind her, Sujin cried out in pain. Jiwoo hauled Mary to her feet and shoved her through the back door into a narrow alley. They ran, footsteps pounding behind them, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness. Who the hell is shooting at us? Mary gasped. I don't know. They burst onto a main street. Jiwoo flagged down a taxi, shoving Mary inside before climbing in after her. Drive, she barked at the confused driver. Now! The taxi peeled away as more gunfire erupted behind them. Mary's entire body shook. Blood stained her hands from the broken glass. Her mind couldn't process what had just happened. Sujin's accusations, the bank transfer, the scars, the shooting. We need to get back to the safe house, Jiwoo said, already dialing her phone. No. Mary, I said no. Mary's voice came out harsh, raw. Take me to Jae-min. Jiwoo stared at her. Are you insane? Probably. But I need answers, real answers. And the only person who knows the truth about what happened 5 years ago is Jaemin. He'll use this against you, against Lucien. Good, let him. Jiwoo's expression hardened, but she gave the driver new directions. They pulled up to the Kwon family residence 20 minutes later, a massive traditional estate in Hanam-dong, surrounded by high walls and security cameras, the kind of place that screamed old money and older power. Mary got out of the taxi on shaking legs. "This is a mistake," Jiwoo warned. "Add it to the list." Mary walked to the gate and pressed the intercom. A voice answered in Korean. "Mary Holloway to see Jaemin Kwon," she said in English. A pause. Then the gate buzzed open. The estate's interior was exactly what Mary expected. Immaculate gardens, koi ponds, architecture that blended traditional Korean design with modern luxury. A servant met them at the entrance and led them through corridors lined with expensive art and family portraits. They stopped at a set of double doors. The servant knocked once, then opened them. Jaemin sat behind a massive desk in what was clearly his private office. He looked up, and for a moment genuine shock crossed his face. "Mary?" She walked in without invitation. Jiwoo stayed by the door. "We need to talk," Mary said. Jaemin stood slowly. "You're bleeding." "Someone just tried to kill me. Again." His expression darkened. "Lucien's people?" "I don't know. Maybe yours." "I would never." "Don't." Mary's voice cut like glass. "Don't pretend you care about my safety. Not after the press conference. Not after you called me mentally unstable on live television." Jaemin had the decency to look uncomfortable. That was strategy. It was character assassination. "You were photographed with Lucien Kang. What did you expect me to do? Tell the truth, that you destroyed our marriage, that you manipulated me for years." Jaemin's jaw tightened. "Is that why you're here? To yell at me?" "I'm here because I need information." Mary stepped closer. 5 years ago, your partnership with Lucien, the company that collapsed. Tell me what really happened." The color drained from Jaemin's face. "How do you know about that?" "Soojin told me, right before someone tried to kill her. Again." Jaemin sank back into his chair. For a moment, he looked genuinely shaken. "Soojin's alive?" "Barely. She has scars all over her face and body from the car accident, the one she claims Lucien orchestrated." "She's right." The confirmation hit Mary like a freight train. "What?" Jaemin rubbed his face. "Sit down, Mary. This is going to take a while." She sat. Jaemin poured 2 glasses of whiskey and pushed one across the desk. His hands shook slightly. 5 years ago, Lucien and I were partners, he began. We'd known each other since university. Built a tech company from nothing. It was supposed to make us both billions. What happened? I got ambitious, started making moves to push him out. Forged documents, manipulated investors. Jaemin took a long drink. Lucien found out, and instead of taking me to court, he destroyed everything. Our company, our investors, everything we'd built. Soojin told me that part. What she didn't tell you is why. Jaemin met Mary's gaze. It wasn't just business. Lucien blamed me for stealing her, for convincing her to leave him. He saw it as the ultimate betrayal. So he ruined her life out of revenge? Worse. He made sure everyone knew she was the reason the company failed. Spread rumors that she'd leaked information to me, that she'd seduced me to sabotage him from the inside. Jaemin's voice turned bitter. None of it was true. Soojin had nothing to do with our business, but Lucien didn't care. He wanted her to suffer. Mary's hands curled into fists. The accident. I don't have proof. But 3 days before it happened, Lucien sent Soojin a message. 1 sentence. Jaemin pulled up his phone and showed Mary a screenshot. You should have stayed loyal. The same message Soojin had shown her. After the accident, Soojin was terrified. She thought Lucien would come after her again, so I helped her leave the country, set her up with money and a new identity. Jaemin's voice cracked. I owed her that much. After everything I'd put her through, Mary felt like the ground had opened beneath her feet. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you go to the police? With what evidence? A text message? Lucien's too smart for that. He uses shell companies, untraceable payments. By the time anyone could prove anything, Soojin would be dead. So you just let him get away with it. I didn't have a choice. Jaemin slammed his glass down. Lucien Kang is the most dangerous man in Seoul. He has connections to organized crime, politicians, judges. If I'd pushed, he would have buried me. And Sujin. Mary stood on shaking legs. Why are you telling me this? Because despite everything between us, I don't want to see you end up like her. Jaemin's expression was pained. I know I treated you terribly. I know I destroyed our marriage, but Mary, please, leave him before it's too late. Too late for what? For him to decide you're more trouble than you're worth. The words echoed in the silence. Mary's phone buzzed, a text from Lucien. Where are you? Jiwoo isn't answering. I'm worried. Another text. Please, just tell me you're safe. Mary stared at the messages. Was this man capable of love? Or was this just another manipulation? Another lie in a web of lies so complex she'd never find her way out? I need to go, she said. Jaemin stood. Mary, please think about what I said. I am. That's the problem. She walked out of the office, Jiwoo falling into step beside her. They rode back to the safe house in silence. When they arrived, Lucien was waiting in the living room. He stood when Mary entered, relief flooding his features. Thank God. When you disappeared, I thought... He stopped, noticing the blood on her hands. What happened? Someone shot up the cafe where I was meeting Sujin. Lucien's expression turned to ice. You met with Sujin? Yes. Why? Because she told me things about you, about what you did to her. Whatever she said... Is it true? Mary's voice rose. Did you destroy your company just to hurt Jaemin? Did you ruin Sujin's reputation? Did you have her run off the road? Mary, answer the question. Lucien's jaw clenched. It's not that simple. Yes or no, Lucien? Did you orchestrate Sujin's accident? The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Finally, Lucien spoke. I sent the message, the threat. I was angry, hurt. I wanted her to know what betrayal felt like. His voice was raw. But I never ordered the hit. I never paid anyone to hurt her. Then who did? I don't know. By the time I found out about the accident, she was already gone. Jaemin had hidden her somewhere I couldn't reach. How convenient. It's the truth. Is it? Mary pulled out her phone and showed him the screenshot Sujin had sent. The bank transfer. Because this shell company traces back to you. Lucien stared at the image. His face went pale. Where did you get this? Sujin. It's fake. It has to be. Is it? Or are you just that good at covering your tracks? Mary, I swear to you. Stop! Mary's voice broke. Just stop lying. I've spent the last 3 years with one man who lied to me constantly. I can't do this again. I won't. Then what do you want from me? The truth. All of it. Not the version you think I want to hear. Not the strategic answer. The actual truth. Lucien was silent for a long moment. Then he walked to the window, staring out at the city lights. When Jaemin betrayed me, I lost everything. The company, my reputation, my fiancé. I was so consumed by rage that I made choices I'm not proud of. His voice was barely above a whisper. I did destroy the company. I did ruin Sujin's reputation. I wanted them both to suffer the way I was suffering. And the accident? I sent the threat, but I didn't order the hit. I swear on everything I have, Mary, I didn't do that. Then who did? I don't know. And that's what's been eating at me for 5 years. Lucien turned to face her. Someone used my anger against me, made it look like I was responsible. And by the time I tried to investigate, Sujin was gone, and Jaemin had built an iron wall around her. Mary's head spun. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. Lucien's expression was raw, open. You have to choose who to believe. A woman who has every reason to hate me. A man who manipulated you for years. Or me. That's not a choice. That's a nightmare. Welcome to my world. The words should have sounded flippant. Instead, they sounded exhausted. Mary sank onto the couch. I don't know what's real anymore. Lucien sat beside her, not touching, just close. What's real is that someone's trying to kill us both. What's real is that every piece of information we've gotten has been designed to turn us against each other. His voice softened. What's real is that I care about you more than I've cared about anyone in 5 years. And that terrifies me. Mary looked at him. Really looked. Past the careful mask. Past the dangerous reputation. What she saw was a man barely holding himself together. Just like her.
I went to Jamin tonight, she said quietly. Lucien's expression darkened. Why? Because I needed his version of events. And? He confirmed everything. The partnership, the betrayal, your revenge, Soojin's accident. Mary's voice shook. But he also said something else. He said you have connections to organized crime, that you're more dangerous than I realize. He's right. The admission hung in the air.
I built my empire on legitimate business, Lucien continued, but I also made deals with people who operate outside the law. Protection, information, access. Things that gave me an edge over competitors like Jamin. Are you telling me you're a criminal? Depends on your definition. Everything I do is technically legal, but the methods I use to get there? He shook his head. Let's just say I've crossed lines most people won't. Mary's chest tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make you want to run. And if I do run? Lucien's expression turned pained. Then I'll let you go. I'll make sure you're safe. Set you up somewhere Jamin can't touch you, and I'll finish this war alone. Mary stood, walked to the window, stared out at Seoul's endless lights. Behind her, she heard Lucien move, felt him stop inches away. I can't promise I'm a good man, he said quietly. I've done terrible things, hurt people, destroyed lives. But I can promise that I would never hurt you. Not intentionally. Not ever. How do I know that's not just another lie? You don't. That's the risk of trusting someone like me. Mary turned to face him. What if Soojin's right? What if you're using me the same way you used her? Then you should leave, right now, before this gets any worse. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Lucien's dark eyes searched hers. I can't prove my intentions, Mary. I can only show you. Through actions, through choices, through whether I keep my promises or break them. And what promises have you made me? To protect you, to destroy Jamin, to give you the revenge you deserve. What if I don't want revenge anymore? What if I just want my life back? Lucien's expression softened. Then I'll help you get it, whatever that looks like. Mary wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt, but trust felt like stepping off a cliff blindfolded. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. If you want proof Lucien Kang ordered Soojin's hit, meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Namsan Tower observation deck. Come alone. Mary's blood chilled. She showed Lucien the message. His expression turned murderous. It's a trap. Probably. You can't go. I have to. This is the only way to know for sure. Mary, if this person has proof, real proof, then I need to see it. And if they don't, if this is just another manipulation, then at least I'll know. Lucien gripped her shoulders. If you walk into that meeting, you might not walk out. Then come with me. Bring your people. Set up surveillance. But I'm going. This is insane. Everything about this situation is insane. Mary met his gaze. But I'm done being a victim. Done being manipulated. If someone wants to use me as bait, fine. Let them try. I'll be ready this time. Lucien stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her into his arms. The embrace was fierce, desperate, like he was trying to memorize the feel of her before she disappeared forever. If anything happens to you, he whispered against her hair, I will burn Seoul to the ground. Mary's breath caught, because she believed him, and that was the most terrifying part of all. The next morning came too fast. Mary dressed in practical clothes, jeans, boots, a jacket that could hide the Kevlar vest Jiwoo had insisted she wear. Her hands shook as she braided her hair. Lucien's team had spent all night preparing. Surveillance positioned around Namsan Tower. Snipers on adjacent buildings. Plainclothes agents scattered through the observation deck. If this was a trap, they'd be ready. But Mary couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking towards something irreversible. A point of no return that would change everything. Lucien drove her to the tower himself. They didn't speak during the drive. What was there to say? Everything had already been said. Now there were only actions, consequences, truth or lies.
life or death.
The observation deck was crowded with tourists taking photos of Seoul's sprawling cityscape. Mary moved through them, scanning faces, looking for whoever had sent the message. Her phone buzzed. North corner. By the window. Mary walked to the north corner. A figure stood with their back to her, staring out at the city. When they turned, Mary's entire world stopped. It wasn't Sujin. It wasn't Jaemin. It was Yuri Han, Jaemin's mistress. And she was holding a gun.
"Hello, Mary," Yuri said calmly. "We need to talk."
Mary stared at the gun in Yuri's hand. Her first instinct was to run. Scream. Signal Lucian's people stationed throughout the observation deck. But something in Yuri's expression stopped her cold. The woman didn't look threatening. She looked terrified. "Don't," Yuri said quietly, her hand trembling. "Please, just listen to me. You're holding a gun. For protection, not for you." Yuri glanced around nervously. "We don't have much time. Jaemin doesn't know I'm here." Mary's mind raced. "What do you want?" "To give you the truth, the real truth." Yuri's voice shook. "About Jaemin, about Lucien, about everything." "Why should I trust you? You're his mistress. You moved into my home. I'm not his mistress." The words came out sharp, bitter. "I'm his prisoner." Mary blinked. "What?" Yuri lowered the gun slightly, her eyes filling with tears. "Jaemin didn't choose me because he loved me. He chose me because I was convenient, young, Korean, from a family with connections he needed. And most importantly, I was desperate enough to agree to his terms." "What terms?" "My father's company was failing, drowning in debt. Jaemin offered to save it in exchange for my cooperation. I'd move into his penthouse, play the role of his new lover, help him make you jealous enough to leave." Yuri's voice cracked. "I thought it would be temporary, a business arrangement. I didn't know what he was really planning." Mary's chest tightened. "Which was what?" "To break you completely. To make you so desperate and humiliated that you'd run straight into Lucien Kang's arms." The observation deck tilted. "He wanted me to go to Lucien?" "Yes." Yuri's hands trembled. "Jaemin knew Lucien had been watching you for months, knew he'd see you as the perfect weapon for revenge. So Jaemin orchestrated everything. The open marriage announcement, moving me into your home, making sure you'd be in that hotel bar the exact night Lucien was there." Mary felt like she'd been punched. "That's impossible. How could Jaemin know?" "Because he paid the hotel bartender to call Lucien the moment you showed up. Told him a beautiful American woman was crying alone at the bar, heartbroken over her marriage." Yuri's voice turned hollow. "Jaemin set the whole thing up. He wanted you to meet Lucien, wanted you to fall for his revenge scheme, because that gave him the perfect excuse to destroy you both." The world stopped making sense. "Why?" Mary whispered. "Why would he go through all that trouble?" "Because Lucien Kang has been trying to acquire Jaemin's shipping company for 2 years. It's the last piece he needs to control Seoul's entire logistics network. But Jaemin can't sell legally because of contracts and board agreements, so he needed another way." Yuri met Mary's gaze. He needed Lucien to do something illegal, something that would give Jaemin leverage to force a sale on his terms. Mary's blood turned to ice. "The shooting at the penthouse. Jaemin ordered it, made it look like an assassination attempt. Got Lucien to retaliate by moving you to a safe house, using illegal surveillance, mobilizing criminal contacts." Yuri's voice shook. "Every move Lucien made to protect you gave Jaemin more ammunition, more proof that he's connected to organized crime, more leverage to destroy him. And I was the bait. You were the perfect bait. Lucien's weakness, the one thing that would make him act irrationally." Mary's legs gave out. She sank against the railing, the city sprawling below her like a battlefield she'd never understood she was fighting on. "The medical records," she said numbly. "The fertility reports. Were those fake too?" Yuri's expression turned pained. "Yes. Jaemin paid doctors to alter them. He needed you dependent, ashamed, convinced you were worthless. It kept you from leaving for 3 years while he built his empire." Everything Mary thought she knew shattered into fragments. Her marriage had been a lie. Her infertility had been manufactured. Her meeting with Lucien had been orchestrated. Even her revenge had been someone else's plan. "Why are you telling me this?" Mary asked, her voice breaking. "Because I can't do this anymore. I thought I could play along, take Jaemin's money, save my father's company, but watching what he's done to you..." Yuri's tears spilled over. "You don't deserve this. Neither does Lucien. And if I don't stop it now, people are going to die." "What do you mean?" Yuri pulled out her phone and showed Mary a text chain. Messages between Jaemin and an unknown contact. "Tomorrow. Namsan Tower. 10 a.m. Make it look like Kang's people did it." Another message. "Eliminate both targets. Clean. No witnesses." Mary's stomach dropped. "He's going to kill us. Here. Now." "He has snipers positioned on surrounding buildings. They're waiting for you to meet with whoever you think sent that message. The second you're in position, they'll fire. Make it look like Lucien's security failed." Yuri gripped Mary's arm. "You need to leave. Right now, before..." A gunshot cracked through the air. Yuri's body jerked. Her eyes went wide. Blood bloomed across her chest as she collapsed against the railing. Mary screamed. Chaos erupted across the observation deck. Tourists scattered, screaming. Glass shattered as more shots rang out. Mary dropped to the floor, crawling toward Yuri as the woman gasped for air. "No, no, no!" Mary pressed her hands against the wound, blood hot and slick against her palms. "Stay with me, please." Yuri's lips moved. "Run!" Then her eyes went empty. Mary's scream tore from somewhere primal. Hands grabbed her from behind. Lucien's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to move! Now!" "She's dead." "I know, but we'll be two if we don't leave." Lucien hauled Mary to her feet and pushed her toward the emergency exit. Jiwoo and two other agents formed a protective barrier as they ran. More gunfire erupted behind them. Concrete exploded where Mary's head had been seconds before. They burst into the stairwell and ran down flight after flight, Mary's legs burning, her mind screaming, Yuri's blood still wet on her hands. They made it to the parking garage. Lucien shoved Mary into an armored SUV and climbed in after her. The vehicle peeled out as bullets pinged off the reinforced exterior. Mary couldn't stop shaking, couldn't breathe. Yuri's face, the blood, the way her eyes had just stopped. "Mary." Lucien gripped her shoulders. "Look at me." She couldn't. "Mary." His voice cut through the shock. She met his eyes. "What did she tell you?" he demanded. "Everything." Mary's voice came out hollow. "Jaemin orchestrated all of it. Our meeting, the shooting, everything. He wanted you to act irrationally so he could destroy you, use me as bait to make you vulnerable." Lucien's expression turned murderous. "And Yuri?" "She was trying to warn me. Mary choked on the words. "She died trying to save me." Lucien pulled her into his arms as sobs racked her body. "We're going to make him pay. I swear to you, Mary, Jaemin Kwan will pay for this." "How? He's covered his tracks, made everything look like your fault. Even if we go to the police..." "We're not going to the police." Mary pulled back. "Then what?" "We're going to war." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. They returned to the safe house under heavy guard. Lucien's people swept every room, checked every window, secured every exit. Mary sat in the bathroom, scrubbing Yuri's blood from her hands until her skin turned raw. The woman had been innocent, a pawn just like Mary, and she'd died for trying to do the right thing. When Mary finally emerged, Lucien was in his office surrounded by maps, files, and laptops displaying security footage. His team worked around him with military precision. "What are you planning?" Mary asked. Lucien looked up. "Jaemin's press conference? Tomorrow at noon. He's announcing a major business acquisition." "Let me guess. Your shipping company." "He's forcing a hostile takeover using fabricated evidence of my criminal connections. Evidence he manufactured by making me react to protect you." Lucien's voice was cold. "He's going to stand in front of Seoul's elite and business press, paint himself as a hero cleaning up corruption, and destroy everything I've built." "So we stop him." "How?" "We have no proof. Yuri's dead. The shooters will disappear. Every trail leads back to shell companies and offshore accounts that can't be traced to Jaemin directly." Mary's mind raced. "What about the medical records? The fertility reports he falsified?" Circumstantial. His lawyers will argue the doctors made honest mistakes. The text messages Yuri showed me? On her phone, which is now police evidence from a crime scene we fled. Lucien slammed his fist on the desk. He's thought of everything, every contingency, every angle. Then we give him something he hasn't planned for. Lucien looked at her sharply. What? Me. Mary's voice steadied. He thinks I'm broken, terrified, hiding. What if I show up at his press conference? What if I tell my story? Live, on camera, in front of everyone? He'll discredit you, call you unstable, bring up the mental health narrative. Let him try, because I'll have proof he can't deny. What proof? Mary pulled out her phone and opened her voice recording app. She'd started recording the moment Yuri began talking. Every word, every confession, everything. Lucien's eyes widened. You recorded her? I record everything now. I learned my lesson about trusting people's words without evidence. Mary's voice turned hard. Yuri told me everything about Jaemin's plan, about the fake medical records, about how he orchestrated our meeting, all of it. It's hearsay. Without Yuri to corroborate, it's enough to raise questions, enough to make people doubt his narrative, and once doubt starts, it spreads. Mary met his gaze. You taught me that. At the gala. When you made Seoul's elite question Jaemin's judgment just by being seen with me. Lucien stared at her. Then a slow, dangerous smile crossed his face. You want to destroy him the same way he tried to destroy us. Publicly, completely. In front of everyone. I want him to feel what I felt. Humiliated, exposed, powerless. It's risky. If it backfires, then I'll go down fighting. But I'm done being a victim, Lucien. Done being someone else's weapon. Mary's voice turned to steel. Tomorrow, I take my life back, with or without you. Lucien crossed the room and cupped her face in his hands. I'm with you. Whatever happens. Whatever it costs. He kissed her. Not desperate this time, not urgent, certain, absolute, like a promise carved in stone. When they pulled apart, Mary's chest ached with something that felt dangerously close to hope. Let's end this, she said. The press conference was held at Seoul's Grand Convention Center. Television crews lined the entrance. Photographers jostled for position. Seoul's business elite filed inside in designer suits and expensive watches, eager to witness Jaemin Kwan's latest victory. Mary watched from a car parked across the street. She'd dressed carefully. Not in the red gown Lucien bought her, but in a simple black suit. Professional, credible. The kind of outfit that said she was serious. Lucien sat beside her, his hand resting on hers. Last chance to back out, he said quietly. I'm not backing out. Good. He squeezed her hand. Because I've never seen you more beautiful than you are right now. Mary looked at him sharply. I'm about to walk into a room full of people who think I'm crazy and destroy my ex-husband's life on live television. Exactly. Despite everything, Mary almost smiled. She checked her phone. The recording was queued up. Her statement was memorized. All she needed now was courage and rage. She had plenty of both. Let's go, she said. They entered through a side entrance, avoiding the main cameras. Lucien's security created a buffer as they made their way to the main hall. Through the doors, Mary could see Jaemin on stage, standing behind a podium emblazoned with the Kwan family crest. He looked confident, composed, like a man who'd already won. Mary's jaw tightened. Jaemin began his speech. Thank you all for coming. Today marks a significant moment, not just for Kwan Industries, but for Seoul's business community as a whole. We're announcing the acquisition of Kang Industries' shipping division, a move that will strengthen. Mary pushed through the doors. The room went silent. Every head turned. Cameras swiveled to capture her walking down the center aisle, Lucien one step behind her, their footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. Jaemin's confident expression crumbled. Mary, don't. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. Don't say my name like you have the right to. She walked straight to the stage and took the microphone from a stunned assistant. My name is Mary Holloway, she began, her voice steady. And for the past 3 years, I've been the wife of Jaemin Kwan, a man who spent every one of those years systematically destroying me from the inside out. Gasps rippled through the audience. Jaemin stepped forward. Mary, you're not well. I need to tell the truth. Something you've never done. Mary turned to face the cameras directly. Jaemin wants you to believe I'm mentally unstable, that I'm being manipulated by Lucien Kang, that I'm too broken and desperate to make my own decisions. She paused, letting the words sink in. He's right about one thing. I was broken, but not because of mental illness, because my husband spent 3 years lying to me about my own body. Mary pulled out her phone and held it up. I have in my possession a recording, a confession from Yuri Han, made hours before she was murdered at Namsan Tower. In it, she details how Jaemin Kwan falsified my medical records, how he paid doctors to convince me I was infertile when I wasn't, how he used my shame and grief to control me. The room erupted in whispers. Jaemin's face went white. Let it play, Mary said coldly. She pressed play. Yuri's voice filled the convention center, frightened, shaking, but clear. Jaemin paid doctors to alter them. He needed you dependent, ashamed, convinced you were worthless. The recording continued, every word, every confession, every detail of Jaemin's manipulation. Mary watched his face as his carefully constructed empire began to crumble. When the recording ended, silence fell like a guillotine. Then chaos. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed. Jaemin's mother stood in the front row, her face twisted in fury and humiliation. This is fabricated, Jaemin said desperately. Mary, please. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Mary stepped closer to him. You want to know why I went to Lucien Kang? Not because he manipulated me, not because I'm unstable, but because he was the only person in Seoul who treated me like I had value, who didn't try to make me smaller to fit his needs. She turned back to the cameras. I'm not a victim. I'm not broken. I'm not someone who needs saving. I'm a woman who was lied to, betrayed, and discarded by a man who saw me as property. And I'm done being silent about it. Mary dropped the microphone. The sound echoed like a gunshot. She walked off the stage, Lucien falling into step beside her as security cleared a path through the chaos. Behind them, Jaemin's voice rose desperately, trying to regain control of the narrative. But it was too late. The truth was out, and Seoul would never see him the same way again. They made it outside before Mary's legs gave out. Lucien caught her, holding her up as sobs finally broke free. Not from sadness, from release, from the weight of 3 years finally lifting. You did it, he whispered. You destroyed him. We did it. No. Lucien pulled back to meet her eyes. That was all you, your courage, your strength. I was just backup. Mary laughed through her tears. Some backup. You brought an entire security team. And I'd do it again. His expression turned serious. What happens now? Now? Mary took a shaky breath. Now I figure out who I am without being his wife, or your weapon. Just me. And where does that leave us? The question hung in the air. Mary looked at him, really looked, at the man who'd offered her revenge and given her something more complicated, something real. I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know if what we have is real or if it was built on manipulation and mutual pain. I don't know if you're a good man or a dangerous one. I don't even know if those things are mutually exclusive anymore. So what do? We start over. No revenge. No schemes. No using each other as weapons. Mary's voice steadied. If you want to be with me, Lucien, it has to be real. Not because I'm useful. Not because you need someone to help you win. Just because you want me. Lucien cupped her face in his hands. I've wanted you since the moment you walked into that hotel bar. Not because you could hurt Jaemin, not because you fit some plan, but because when I looked at you, I saw someone fighting to survive, just like me. That's not a love story. Maybe not, but it's honest. Mary closed her eyes. I need time, space. I need to figure out who I am before I can figure out what we are. How much time? I don't know. Months, maybe longer. Lucien's thumb traced her cheekbone. I'll wait. You don't have to. I'll wait, Mary. However long it takes. Because you're worth it. The words broke something open inside her chest. She kissed him, soft, gentle, like a goodbye and a promise all at once. When she pulled back, tears streaked both their faces. I need to go, she whispered. Where? I don't know yet.
Somewhere that's mine, not yours, not Jaemin's, mine. Lucien nodded, his jaw tight. Call me when you're ready. I will. She stepped back, turned away, started walking, and for the first time in 3 years, Mary Holloway walked forward without looking back.
6 months later, Seoul looked different through Mary's eyes. She stood on the balcony of her new apartment in Itaewon, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. The sunrise painted the Han River gold. Below, the streets filled with morning traffic and rushing commuters. Mary had built a life here, a real one. She'd started her own branding consultancy. Small at first, but growing. Clients came because they'd heard her story, saw her strength, wanted someone who understood what it meant to rebuild from nothing. She'd made friends, real ones. Not Seoul's elite, but artists and entrepreneurs and expats who didn't care about her past, only her present. She'd started therapy, unpacked 3 years of trauma, learned to separate her worth from her ability to meet someone else's expectations. And slowly, painfully, she'd started to heal. Her phone buzzed, a text from Lucien. He sent one every week. Never pushy, never demanding, just there. Good morning. Hope you're well. Mary smiled and typed back. I am. You? Better. Closed the shipping acquisition. Legitimate this time. Proud of you. Coffee this week? No agenda. Just coffee. Mary stared at the message. She'd kept her distance. Needed it. But she'd also been watching from afar as Lucien transformed. He'd severed his connections to organized crime, restructured his business to operate transparently, even started a foundation supporting domestic violence survivors. He was trying, genuinely trying, just like she was. Mary typed back. Thursday, 3 p.m. The cafe near Hongdae we talked about. I'll be there. She set down her phone and took a deep breath. Maybe they had a future. Maybe they didn't. But for the first time in her life, Mary wasn't afraid of the answer. Because she'd learned something vital over the past 6 months. She didn't need anyone to save her. She'd saved herself. And whatever came next, whether it was love or solitude or something in between, she would face it on her own terms. Not as Jaemin's discarded wife, not as Lucien's weapon, just as Mary, flawed, scarred, imperfect, but finally, beautifully, completely free. Thursday arrived with autumn rain. Mary sat in the cafe near Hongdae, watching water streak the windows. The space was small, cozy, filled with students and freelancers typing on laptops. Nobody knew her here. Nobody cared about her past. She liked it that way. The door opened. Lucien walked in, shaking rain from his coat. He looked different, less polished, more relaxed. He'd let his hair grow slightly longer, traded his usual sharp suits for jeans and a sweater. He looked like a man learning to live instead of just survive. Their eyes met across the cafe. Mary's heart did something complicated. Lucien ordered at the counter, then slid into the booth across from her. Hi, he said. Hi. For a moment, they just looked at each other. You look good, Lucien said finally. So do you. Therapy's been illuminating. Mary laughed softly. Tell me about it. Silence fell, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that came from two people who'd been through hell together and come out the other side changed. I saw your company's website, Lucien said. You're doing well. One client at a time, but yeah, it's good. I'm proud of you. Thanks. More silence. Then Lucien reached across the table, didn't touch her, just rested his hand palm up between them. An offering, an invitation. I meant what I said 6 months ago, he said quietly. I'll wait, however long it takes, but I also need you to know something. What? You don't owe me anything, not your time, not your forgiveness, not a relationship. His voice turned raw. If you decide you're better off without me, I'll respect that. I'll leave you alone. You'll never hear from me again. Mary stared at his open palm. She thought about everything they'd been through, the lies, the manipulation, the violence, the way they'd used each other and been used in turn. But she also thought about the moments that had been real, his body shielding hers from bullets, The way he'd looked at her like she was fire instead of ashes. The promise he'd made to wait and kept. Mary reached out, their fingers intertwined.
I don't want you to leave me alone, she said softly. But I also can't promise you anything beyond right now, beyond this coffee, beyond today.
That's enough, is it?
It's more than I deserve. Mary's chest tightened. We're both broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. Then maybe we figure it out together, slowly, honestly. Lucien's thumb traced circles on her palm. No schemes, no revenge, just two people who understand what it means to survive.
That's not a fairy tale.
No, but it's real.
Mary looked at their joined hands, scarred, imperfect, but holding on.
Okay, she whispered. Okay? Okay. We can try. One day at a time, no promises, no expectations, just seeing what happens. Lucien's expression transformed, not into the dangerous smile she'd known, into something softer, more vulnerable. Hope.
They talked for 2 hours. About therapy and business and small, ordinary things that had nothing to do with war or revenge. Mary told him about the pottery class she'd started taking. Lucien confessed he'd been learning to cook because ordering takeout every night was depressing. They laughed. They argued about coffee versus tea. They existed in the present instead of drowning in the past.
And when they finally left the cafe, walking together under shared umbrella through Seoul's rain-soaked streets, Mary realized something profound. She didn't need Lucien. She wanted him. And that made all the difference.
1 year later, Mary stood in front of a room full of women at Seoul's largest domestic violence shelter. My name is Mary Holloway, she began, and 3 years ago, I was trapped in a marriage that destroyed me from the inside out. She told her story. Not the sanitized version, the real one, the fertility lies, the humiliation. The moment she decided to fight back instead of disappear, and she told them what came after, the revenge that almost consumed her, the man who'd saved her and used her in equal measure, the woman who'd died trying to warn her, the moment she'd stood on a stage and reclaimed her voice. I'm not going to tell you recovery is easy, Mary said, looking into faces that reflected her own pain. I'm not going to promise that standing up for yourself won't cost you everything, because it might. It cost me my marriage, my reputation, my sense of safety. She paused. But it gave me something more valuable. It gave me myself. After the speech, women lined up to thank her, to share their stories, to ask how she'd found the courage. Mary answered each one honestly, because she remembered what it felt like to be drowning. And she'd learned that sometimes the only way to save yourself was to fight your way to the surface alone. Outside, Lucien waited by the car. They'd been together officially for 6 months now, taking it slow, building something real instead of rushing into the familiar patterns of intensity and chaos. It wasn't always easy. They fought. They triggered each other's trauma. They had to learn how to be partners instead of weapons. But they were trying, and that mattered. How'd it go? Lucien asked as Mary approached. Good. Hard, but good. He kissed her forehead. I'm proud of you. Stop saying that. You'll give me an ego. You've earned an ego. Mary laughed and leaned into him. They drove to the apartment they'd started sharing 3 months ago. Not Lucien's penthouse, not Mary's studio. A new space they'd chosen together, filled with compromises and combined furniture and the kind of beautiful mess that came from two damaged people learning to share a life. That evening, they cooked dinner together. Lucien burned the rice, Mary oversalted the vegetables. They ordered pizza instead and ate it on the balcony, watching Seoul's lights flicker to life below. I got an offer today, Lucien said. From who? The government. They want me to consult on anti-corruption initiatives. Use my experience with organized crime to help them shut down illegal operations. Mary raised her eyebrows. That's a hell of a career pivot. I thought so too. Are you going to take it? Lucien was quiet for a moment. I don't know. It feels like redemption, but it also feels like I'm trying to erase the past instead of accepting it. You can accept the past and still choose a different future. Is that what you're doing with the foundation? Mary had started it 6 months ago, a nonprofit supporting women leaving abusive marriages. It was small, underfunded, but growing. I'm trying to make sure other women don't have to go through what I did. That's not erasing the past. That's using it. Lucien nodded slowly. Then maybe I should too. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined. I love you, Lucien said quietly. It was the first time he'd said it. Mary's breath caught. She looked at him. Really looked. At the man who'd been her enemy's enemy, who'd offered revenge and protection in equal measure, who'd lied to her and saved her and learned to be honest even when it hurt. I love you too, she said, and meant it. Not because he completed her, not because she needed him, but because after everything they'd survived, everything they'd endured, they'd chosen each other anyway, scarred, imperfect, real. Parasit. 2 years after the press conference that destroyed Jae-min Kwon, Mary walked through the grand opening of the Yuri Han Memorial Foundation. The building was state-of-the-art, therapy rooms, legal clinics, emergency housing, job training facilities, everything a woman escaping abuse might need to rebuild her life. Mary had funded it using the settlement from her divorce. Jae-min had tried to fight it, but his own mother had forced him to pay. The scandal had destroyed his reputation beyond repair. He'd lost investors, board positions, social standing, everything he'd valued more than his wife. Mary didn't feel sorry for him. She'd heard he'd moved to Singapore, started over. She hoped he'd learned something, but she also didn't care enough to check. He was her past. This was her future. It's perfect, Lucien said, looking around the lobby. It's a start. Mary squeezed his hand. There's so much more to do. Then we'll do it. Together. They cut the ribbon. Cameras flashed. But this time Mary wasn't hiding, wasn't performing, wasn't anyone's victim or weapon. She was just herself, building something good from the ashes of something terrible. That evening, back in their apartment, Lucien pulled out a small box. Mary's heart stopped. Before you panic, he said quickly, this isn't what you think. Then what is it? He opened the box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet. Engraved on the inside were 3 words. You saved yourself. Mary's eyes filled with tears. I know we've talked about marriage, Lucien said quietly. And I know you're not ready. Maybe you never will be. And that's okay. Because this isn't about legally binding ourselves together. He took out the bracelet and fastened it around her wrist. This is just a reminder that you're stronger than you know, that you survived, that you built a life on your own terms. His voice turned rough. And that I'm honored to be part of it. Mary kissed him, soft, deep, grateful. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me, the real me, not the broken version Jae-min created. Not the weapon you needed, just me. Always. They stood on the balcony together, watching Seoul's endless lights. Somewhere in the city, other women were fighting their own battles, facing their own demons, deciding whether to stay or run or fight. Mary couldn't save them all, but she could offer them what she'd learned. That survival wasn't about finding someone to rescue you, it was about rescuing yourself. And that sometimes the most powerful thing you could do was refuse to be anyone's victim ever again. Mary looked down at the bracelet on her wrist. You saved yourself. 3 words. 1, truth. She had. And nothing, not Jae-min's cruelty, not Lucien's darkness, not Seoul's judgmental elite, could ever take that away from her. She was free, scarred, changed, imperfect, but untouchable. And that was enough. Ikyan. Years from now, when people asked Mary Holloway about her time in Seoul, she wouldn't talk about the heartbreak or the revenge or the violence. She'd talk about the moment she finally understood what it meant to be whole. Not because someone fixed her, not because she found the perfect love story, but because she learned to stop waiting for permission to take up space in her own life. She'd learned that strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about choosing to rebuild yourself exactly as you wanted to be. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered.